Hello everyone, I'm Ketousenuo, psychologist working under District Mental Health Program, Kohima. We are very happy and privileged to be here today to talk about some very important topics with you all, teachers, students, and everyone watching this channel. We would like to thank the Department of School Education for collaborating with us and for realizing the importance of mental health, especially during this time. We are in the middle of a pandemic, and this pandemic has led us to boredom, anxiety, fear, tension, frustration, and sadness, which is ongoing and very much normal to experience for every one of us. Fear and anxiety can affect our mood and can be overwhelming for adults and children as well. So we are here today to discuss about mental health, mental illnesses, and the management of stress and any stress-related disorder that is very prevalent in our society, especially during this time. We also want to stress on the importance of seeking professional help. If you or any one of you are going through a difficult time or some identifiable mental illnesses, because untreated mental conditions can open the opportunity or possibility of other major illnesses which can affect our relationship, disrupt our performance at school, at work, and can affect our overall health. So let's discuss about mental health. As everyone knows, mental health is something to do with our feelings, with our mood, with our emotions, which are everyday feelings. There are different kinds of emotions that we experience, negative emotions or positive emotions that we all experience, and which is a normal part of our life. Good mental health does not mean experiencing only the positive emotions, but also about negative emotions or negative thoughts. So now, according to WHO, World Health Organization, mental health is a state of well-being where there are 4 points where we need to consider. Firstly, every individual realizes his or her own potentials. So realizing our own strength, our weaknesses, likes and dislikes, our goals or aims in life. So a good positive mental health can allow people to realize his or her own potential. Now, secondly, if someone is mentally healthy, they can cope up with the normal stresses of life. We all experience small stresses or major stresses in our life. For example, I was definitely very stressed out when I was assigned to do this presentation. Now we feel stressed when we are just about to write a major exam or about to talk to someone who is more authorized than us. So these are normal stresses that we experience in our everyday life. So we will be able to cope up with these stresses in our life if we are mentally healthy. Thirdly, we will be able to work productively and fruitfully, knowing about our own responsibilities, doing our work at school or in any work environment. We will be able to know our own responsibilities and work productively. And lastly, we will be able to make a contribution to the society if we are mentally healthy. So these are the 4 aspects that WHO have given. Just like how we have physical illnesses, we also have mental illnesses, and it is one of the most disturbing illnesses that anyone could get. And according to researchers, 1 in 4 adults experience mental illnesses. So a collective health condition does not only mean our physical health, but we should also consider our emotional health, spiritual health, and our psychological health as well. If someone is going through any kind of mental illnesses, there will be change in his behavior, in his mood, in his thinking patterns, and also it will affect their social and occupational life. Now, we mostly like to talk about the good things that are happening in our life. We usually don't like to share the negative things or things that are not going in our way, but it should be the same as physical health as well. If we are physically unwell, we let people know about our illnesses, so it should be the same as mental illnesses as well. After all, we all have mental health, and some of the symptoms that an individual can experience if they have any mental illnesses are negative thoughts, state of confused, empty feelings, loneliness, mood changes, low appetite, disturbances in our sleeping patterns, and behavioral changes, or social and occupational life will be disrupted if anyone is going through any kind of mental illnesses. There are different kinds of mental illnesses, just like how there are different types of physical illnesses. But considering the current situation, I would like to stress on anxiety disorder or any stress related illnesses. So anxiety is, firstly we will discuss about anxiety disorder. Now anxiety is commonly described as both mental and physical symptoms, which we will discuss. Anxiety can occur on its own, or it can occur as a response to stress. For example, the stress which we are experiencing right now because of this pandemic. And this stress, if it persists for a longer period of time, it can affect our mental health, and in worst case scenarios, we might experience panic attack as well. Anxiety, if an individual have anxiety disorder, it will interfere in our individual's life or social and occupational life as well, and eventually it will become a medical illness if treatment is not made. Important thing to note about anxiety is that we cannot control anxiety from occurring, but we should learn how to respond to anxiety in a healthy and helpful way. Some psychological symptoms of anxiety disorder will be anxious thoughts or worried thoughts, feeling restless, fearful, feeling irritable, difficulty in concentrating or feeling restless, overthinking. All these are some psychological symptoms of anxiety disorder. Physical symptoms will be shortness of breath, choking, numbness, dizziness, heart palpitations, fear of dying, feeling of being out of one's body. All these are physical symptoms of anxiety disorder, and individual experience both physical and psychological symptoms when it becomes a disorder. Most of us are in a position where right now things that matters to us are feel more uncertain, which understandably gives rise to our stress response. Now this pandemic has created heightened levels of uncertainty, and if we are uncertain, it usually disrupts our ability to plan for the future, and eventually it will heighten our stress level. So let's see some examples of negative thoughts or feeling or the things that goes through our mind if we are anxious, especially during this time. Now the first example will be threat scanning. This is when your mind searches the environment for what you fear. For example, obsessively checking the news about the virus, or about positive cases that has risen, about a death toll. All these are some examples of threat scanning or negative thoughts. The second example of negative thoughts will be catastrophizing. This is when your mind jumps to worst case scenarios. So for example, your mind gives you the mental image of losing all the people you love, or another example will be you feel chest tightness, and your mind tells you that you have the COVID-19 symptoms. So these are some examples of catastrophizing. Next will be hypothetical worry. Now these are what if thoughts and are typically about things that you don't have much control over. Worrying is completely normal. If we worry about something, it motivates us to do our work properly or productively. But if it becomes unhelpful when you focus excessively on hypothetical worries, such as taking an example of this current situation, what if someone gets too close to me at the market and if I catch the virus? Or thoughts like, I know I'm following all the guidelines, but what if I spread the virus? So these are some hypothetical worries. And next example will be emotional reasoning. Now, this is when your mind tells you that your emotions reflect reality. Well, emotions can act as a helpful messenger, but here it often aren't reliable. So some example of this will be, I feel scared, so I must be in danger. Or I feel guilty, so I must have done something wrong. So these are some examples again. The next example will be fortune telling. This is when your mind interprets predictions as facts. Whatever you read about in the news are the fact, or thoughts like I'm going to be stuck inside a room for months because of the lockdown or because of the virus, or my mental health will keep deteriorating and I will have to go back to my medications. So these are some negative thoughts and examples of negative thoughts which can intensify the stress level and eventually lead to a disorder. The next disorder I would like to stress on is depression. Now, especially during this time, every one of us have read about it or seen it, or it's everywhere in the news channels or in every source of news. It is something to do with sadness, but like I said, we experience sadness, negative emotions or positive emotions. We cry or we feel sad. But here in this disorder, if this temporarily feeling sad or feeling blue for a longer period of time, it becomes a medical illness, and eventually it will interfere with our social and occupational life. So like I said, we cannot see mental illness or mental health just like how we can see physical illnesses or physical health. So here in mental health, we need to talk about it and listen. Some symptoms of depression will be changes in sleeping patterns or restless sleep, problems with appetite, irritable mood, difficulty finding happiness or enjoyment or pleasure, loss of interest in activities which you used to enjoy earlier, loss of energy, feeling guilt, state of being unimportant, or difficulty concentrating. Or in some worst case scenarios, some people get suicidal ideations or suicidal thoughts as well. Now it is important to note that every suicidal cases are not linked with mental illnesses, but it is of course linked with some mental illnesses like depression. If a person have major depression or major symptoms of depression, they can have suicidal thoughts or suicidal attempts can occur. One major symptoms will be if they are experiencing major depression, they might experience features of psychosis as well. So these are some common symptoms of depression. Right, so living in the age of coronavirus, we can have a profound effect on, it can have a profound effect on our mood. And now that we are living in isolation, and every one of us are social creatures, so we like to socialize, we like to meet people, but we are forced to stay inside. So isolation and loneliness can fuel depression, especially during this time, or it can trigger depression. A troubled relationship, being in an abusive relationship in the family or with a friends circle, it can even damage your mood and trigger depression as well. Anxiety can also lead to depression. The symptoms which we have discussed can also eventually lead to depression. Now everyone is experiencing stress, and being stressful is very common, especially during this time. So we can be more vulnerable to depression as well. We are turning into unhealthy ways of coping, like for example drinking too much, or using substance, or consuming a lot of junk food, or sleeping too much or sleeping too less. These are some unhealthy ways of coping with stress. So what we can do is we can distract ourselves, maybe learn a new language or music, or plant your own vegetables, or flowers, or paint, etc. This is how we can distract ourselves from being stressed, instead of utilizing the negative or unhealthy ways of coping. Second thing, what we can do is find simple source of joy. Now we can't force ourselves or other people to have fun, but we can definitely push ourselves to do things that will boost our mood throughout the day. Like for example, to watch by watching a funny videos, or watching a funny movies. All these can elevate our mood. Thirdly, it is important to limit our consumption of news, especially during this time. Now it is important to stay updated and keep informed, but too much of unreliable sources or too much of news can fuel negativity and fear, and it can eventually lead to stress and anxiety. Now in order to keep updated and informed, we can log into the website of Health and Family Welfare, or Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, or in World Health Organization welfare, to get updated at least once a day, which is totally enough. Maintain a routine, set a time for every activities that you want to do, and express gratitude, noting down some of the things that you are grateful for. Even though we are living in a very stressful situation, we can note down whatever we are grateful for example our parents, our health, or the friends that we have, in order to motivate ourselves and stay positive. And it is important to talk to someone, even if they can't provide you the full solution or every solution that you are looking for. By bottling up your emotions can lead to a major stressed episode, and eventually it will be a problem. And also we should be a good listener. Even though we don't have all the answers to their problems, we can listen to them without being judgmental or criticize them. Let's see how we can identify stress and depression during COVID-19 pandemic. The first symptoms we'll see is cognitive. Some of the cognitive symptoms are inability to concentrate, anxiety or racing thoughts, negative thoughts, lack of interest in pleasurable activities. These are something to do with our thinking patterns. So these are negative thoughts. Some physical symptoms will be chest pain, rapid heart rate, dizziness, hyperventilation, decreased sleep. These are some physical symptoms. Some emotional symptoms will be change of mood or moodiness most of the day, general unhappiness, sadness, irritability, anger, loneliness, feeling of helplessness or wordlessness, or feeling of unimportant. These are some emotional symptoms. Behavioral symptoms will be sleeping too much or too little, using drugs or any other substance to relax ourselves, using alcohol or shouting on others or abusing others. So these are some behavioral symptoms. These symptoms, cognitive, physical, emotional, and behavioral symptoms, are some symptoms of stress and depression, which we can identify ourselves and seek professional help accordingly. Along with the teachers, every one of us are facing a lot of uncertainty at this time, which is ongoing, and it has caused a lot of stress and anxiety. Now, stressors, especially for teachers, like uncertainty around exams, school schedules, the new mode of education, the online mode of education. Now that the teachers have to cancel their holidays to prepare for their lessons, and some teachers might be experiencing financial stress as well. So all these stressors can affect our mental health in a major way. So if we shift our focus on to what we can control instead of to what we cannot control, we see meaningful differences in our well-being and in our performance. So some examples of things that are within our control are our routine, self-care, focusing on what is important to us, or something which we can control. Something which we cannot control are the news or traffic in general, other people's health or other people's decisions. So these are something which we cannot control. So it is vital to focus our mind in something which we can have control over. Some of the things which we or the teachers can do are discuss our emotional state with the management, our stress and weaknesses with their management, separate professional time and personal time to find balance. So setting goals, like for example, to set 1 hour goal to complete a chapter, and not setting unrealistic goals like setting 5-6 chapters in an hour. And once that timer is done, you can go back and do something which you like your hobbies or something you enjoy doing. Taking regular breaks, practice self-care like exercising or by watching a movie, sleep well, or doing something which you enjoy. Stay connected with friends is very vital. Make a phone call to people you trust or you love, or set goals to achieve on certain goals one at a time. So these are some tips which we, or especially the teachers, can practice. I would like to conclude my session by mentioning some of the services that is available in our state, Nagaland. District Mental Health Program is located in 5 districts in our state, Nagaland: Kohima, Dimapur, Phek, Mokchon, and Longlan. And the services which we provide are pharmacological treatment. We have been providing free medicines, then psychological assessments, psychological therapy, psychosocial management. So now that we are aware of how to identify ourselves with anxiety or stress, we can seek for professional help accordingly. Please stay safe, stay indoors, and follow all the precautionary measures that our state health ministries have assigned to us, and please take care of your mental health. Thank you.